From Relay, this is Upgrade, episode 584 for October 6th, 2025. It's Q4 now, can you believe it? This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, Fitbod, and Delete Me. My name is Myke Hurley, and I'm joined by Jason Snell. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Myke. It's great to be here for our greatest and most lucrative of all quarters, the holiday quarter.
Who couldn't love the holiday quarter? I have a Snell Talk question for you.
Really puts you in the spirit, doesn't it?
It really does. When you say it like
discuss
that.
the lucrative nature of the holiday quarter.
Luca says, where do you like to sit in a movie theater? All the way in the back, somewhere in the middle, up front like a weirdo? What about Apple? What about Apple events? Assuming you could sit anywhere. I will say Luca did not say weirdo. Now you've laughed at it. I will tell you what Luca actually said. Luca said psychopath, which felt like a little bit aggressive. So I changed it to weirdo.
Yeah. By the way, the psychopaths sit in the back and ponder who will be their prey. I mean, it's just, have you seen a movie with a psychopath? That's what they do. All right. Yeah. I sit in the middle. Middle is basically it. At an Apple event, I prefer to sit further back because I don't need to get up close unless, back in the day when I used to bring a camera with a long lens and I took pictures of people on stage, it was different, but now very little of interest happens on stage, other than good morning, so I don't. But back in the day, I was happy to sit a little further back, and that was okay. But generally, middle. What about you, Myke?
Yeah, middle. That is the ideal. And I also like movie theaters that have sofas in them rather than individual chairs.
Oh, man. They just retrofitted our local movie theater with big recliners with giant trays for food and stuff.
That also works great.
And they're high enough up from the next row that there's nothing the person in the row below you can do to block the screen, and it's really sweet. It's really nice. We have not had that before here. It was really great.
If you would like to send in a question to help us open a future episode of the show, just go to upgradefeedback.com and send in your Snell Talk question. It is time for some follow-up. Before that, happy birthday, Jason!
Woo! Thank you, Myke.
Happy birthday, Jason Snell.
I'm working on my birthday. Like any other holiday, we work on Upgrade.
Yep. Yes, I will not let him take his birthday off.
Nope.
Yeah, make him work double hard on his birthday, actually.
Yep.
Sorry, Jason.
That's how it goes.
That's how it goes. Happy birthday, though.
Mean old Myke.
I have a birthday present for you.
Okay.
I installed macOS Tahoe. I installed Tahoe.
OS?
That's my birthday present.
Where was that going?
OS.
I installed OS Tahoe 26.
OS. Well, the rest of them
Mac.
are something
OS
Tahoe
26 Mac.
Yes, OS 26. OS 26
Tahoe
Mac. OS 26 Mac Tahoe.
Tahoe, also known as Tahoe.
If you don't think it's called that, check About This Mac. That's what they call it. OS 26 Mac Tahoe.
Tahoe.
I have some comments and concerns, if I'm being honest. I will say that I'm not particularly happy as a Tahoe user.
Okay.
And in ways that are maybe different to other people. Like overall, the UI is fine. It doesn't bother me. But there are decisions that are strange. So one is, if you use dark mode, your widgets are in light mode unless you have dark icons. This was something that was in one of the iOS betas, but they fixed it. That you could have light icons, but dark mode would make your widgets dark. It's the dark mode that's tied to the light and dark widgets, not whether your icons are light and dark. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you could have light mode, and if you set your icons to be dark, it would change your widgets to dark. Now, that is the wrong thing, in my opinion, to decide what changes whether widgets are light or dark. It should be the system rather than the icons. There was a point, I think, it was either in iOS 18 or iOS 26 where that happened, and they changed the way that the systems work. But that did not come to OS Mac 26 Tahoe
edition.
So I like to have my system in dark mode and my icons in light mode, but now that means my widgets are in light mode, which is not what I'm looking for. The icon jail is real bad. I hate it. My dock is essentially unreadable in spots now. Because you know me, I have a lot of things in my dock. I have a lot of apps open all the time.
Yeah.
And I have it on the right side. So now some of my icons, the actual icon is so small, I can't even see it anymore.
Yeah. It's just a gray square with a little blob of color in there.
I'm a
it's not good.
bartender user via SetApp, and the version of bartender on SetApp is just completely broken. Like it just does not work. So I was talking to you and Steven about this, and Steven said that he had just decided that he was just going to not use one of these apps anymore. And I have gone down that route. So I just spent some time in system preferences turning a bunch of stuff off.
Yep. I'm doing that currently as well. Although I have experimented with the app Hidden Bar, which Steven's response was, "How do you find it?" Thanks. Get it together, Hackett. What are you doing?
Get it together.
Little dad jokes there. So anyway, I did quit after I found it, I quit out of Hidden Bar. And it's okay. I think the big issue is I'm on a studio display now, and on a laptop it becomes a bigger problem. With lots of extra stuff. But you can tell a lot of stuff. Can I talk? Okay, unexpected turn here. I use Rocket now to do emoji because I used to use Launch Bar, and that's gone.
Yeah.
And I have a real problem with an issue in Rocket that I want to address here.
Oh, okay.
Which is in the advanced preferences, because it puts a thing up in the menu bar, and I don't need the Rocket menu bar item.
Yeah.
I there's no scenario in which I care about it enough to have it be up there.
Yeah.
And at the bottom of the advanced pane, it says, "Want to hide Rocket's menu bar icon?" ? And it's blue. So I click on it, thinking it's a link to a page that will tell me what to do. The link goes to another app that hides menu bar icons on your Mac.
Yeah.
I don't like that the answer is another. It is from the same developer, but I don't love that, and I don't love that when I installed it, it wanted to add a bunch of stuff and then upsell me on the pro version of that app. And I'm not trying to beat up on this developer. If you've got an app that hides things from the menu bar, you've got code that hides things from the menu bar. Use it in your app. Like, just it makes me feel so bad because it's like a limitation of this app so great that it's in the settings, and all it is an upsell for a different app that does the thing that you want it to do. I do not appreciate it at all. So Rocket is currently in my menu bar, but it may not be for long if you get what I'm saying. Right. Yeah. And it's not that I'm going to go install his other app. It's I'm going to find an alternative to it, because I really just I don't know. That really bugged me that it anticipates my problem and then just tries to, and literally it's not even like explaining it. It's literally just a link to the product page for the other app. Like so what is it? Is it an ad? Is it support? I don't know. I hated it. So it's still up there.
I can see what that would annoy you.
But most of the stuff up there you can make go away,
which I have done. I have done that.
You can take control of it yourself. And do that. And then over time, as menu bar items become controls, which is a thing Apple is pushing, not only can they live in Control Center, which is a way that's in the system for you to put controls under a drop-down, but everything that's a control is removable from the menu bar. It can you can choose if you want it in the menu bar or not, or in a drop-down or not.
I would say of the apps that I do want in my menu bar, I don't think any or many have adopted the new controls system.
Oh, almost nothing has yet, but I feel like over time that will probably happen.
Yeah. All right, Spotlight.
Okay.
It's nice, but I have some problems with it that I want to relay to you. One is it cannot see my files from Dropbox. And I know that you explained, I believe, on a previous episode in your review, that there is a extension to the file provider API that they need to integrate with. But they exist in Finder. I don't understand why they're at Dropbox. I mean, I have many problems with the way that Apple has forced companies like Dropbox to adopt the file provider APIs, therefore making them way worse than they were before from a user perspective. But I find that really annoying. But I know that there's a result for it or whatever. But
I can see files in Dropbox.
It's not showing me anything. Like if I search for files or folders. So here's the thing. I think something might be wrong, because also I cannot find my wife in contact search. That doesn't seem right, does it?
Okay, you've got something going on there.
Something's going on.
I
right?
can find files in Dropbox in Spotlight. Even if they're not downloaded, I can find them on the file name. What they're trying to do is they're adding an extension that allows you to search when you do a search, the file provider. So the deal where if the file isn't downloaded on Dropbox, you can't search for the text inside the file because the file's not actually there, right? So they have added an API that theoretically allows you to, when you do a Spotlight search, one of the things it does is it will ask Dropbox if it added this feature for files that match that. And Dropbox has all your files. So Dropbox can do a text search and kick back results that would display in Spotlight, which is great because that's one of the weaknesses of having files offloaded is that you can't do a search like that. But what you're seeing suggests to me that Dropbox or Spotlight's not indexing your Mac properly.
Love to see it. How on earth? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, how am I supposed to fix this? Like even I searched for contacts and pressed tab. Where like it searches his contacts, and I search my wife's name, and it's like, there's nothing there, man. It's like, okay,
so
the old Spotlight could do this.
My this is not now. We've left. I'm not trying to defend Apple here. We're in troubleshooting mode here, so I will just say, in settings under Spotlight, there are some things you could toggle. Toggle contacts on and off, and then also under what is it? There's somewhere you can do search privacy, and you can go in there and like drag your hard drive in, and then drag it back out again, and it basically erases your index and it forces a reindex. So there's some things to try from a troubleshooting perspective, but it's not great. Not great.
No, I'll play around with it, I suppose, but I like what I have been able to use so far. But yeah, some of the some features seem like regressions, but these seem like these weird things where I've got some strange outliers. I mean, I would naturally have assumed that the new Spotlight would force a reindex anyway, but maybe that isn't happening, or maybe it broke for me. And
maybe
I don't know what's going on there, but that's something to try out. The menu bar is fine for me, like visually, just like the menu bar looks good. However, I've had this weird thing where I keep thinking my windows are not correctly sized, because it's like, my window's not going to the top. Oh, it is going to the top. The top has changed.
Yeah, I had a whole section in my. I think I took it out of my review, but it was in the preview, which is it is. I don't have a problem with the transparent menu bar, but what it means is if you've got a very nice wallpaper behind it, when your window is at the top of the screen, especially if you don't have lots and lots of menu bar items, there's this little gap between where the menus go over and where the menu bar items go over.
Yeah.
That it just shows your wallpaper, but you can't actually put anything up there. It's still the menu bar, even though it's invisible. So it's like there's a little force field up there that's like, nope, you can't go up there. And it's weird. It's just weird.
It is strange. But overall, it's fine. I do want to fix the Spotlight thing, but
I think
super fussy.
Automations may be a thing that you can do some more of. You might like those.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Maybe.
Right.
I don't know.
Ryan wrote in and with something interesting and says, it seems like there is a new feature of camera control in iOS 26 where a user can actually select and reorder what functionality is available to control when utilizing the camera control. This could lead to less accidental changes and make it more useful depending on the customization and the person. Whether through light swipe or press after the menu is up, interaction can also be done through touch as well. You can find these settings under Settings, Camera Control, and then Camera Control, then Customize. So there are a bunch of things like you can turn off the swipe action completely. I've done it now, so basically it will just change cameras if I swipe it. It won't do anything else, and I can't access anything else. And there are also a bunch of other toggles that I hadn't seen before. So I guess if you're someone who's frustrated with camera control, you may be able to go in and tweak it a little bit to what you would desire. So I went in and did that, and so now I don't have to swipe through anything else if I don't want to.
All right,
that was interesting. And also want to just mention the St. Jude campaign is now over. It finished just before we started recording today's show.
It did.
This year, the Relay community has raised $753,756 for the kids of St. Jude, meaning that since 2019, we have now raised a total of $4.8 million.
Pretty good.
Thank you so
Pretty
much.
good. Thank you. Our goal was 700.
So
we went to 753, 756. And when we hit 700, I said to you and Steven, go for 750.
Yep.
And then over the weekend, I got the text. It was like, well,
we did it.
There it is, 750. Did it.
So
that's pretty great.
Thank you, everyone, for your support.
Everybody out there.
Now we look forward to next September.
Yep, just around the corner.
Any day now. Any day now. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform that is designed to help you stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just getting started or scaling a business, Squarespace will give you everything that you need to claim your domain, showcase your offerings with a professional website, grow your brand, and get paid all in one place. I've been using Squarespace for nearly 2 decades for various projects, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why I do this. Like, for me, it's the quickest way to go from idea to having a website, which I love. But also, I don't know how to code a website. Again, I don't want to learn. And I think over these last 2 decades, something that has become clear is websites have become more and more complicated. So having a system that grows with you and adds the functionality that you need is amazing. Like, for example, Squarespace has integrated SEO tools, because if you build a website, you want people to be able to see it. So every Squarespace website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more, so people will find your site through search engine results. I don't know what meta descriptions or an auto-generated sitemap is or how I would do it, and I don't have to worry about it. Also, analytics. They have built-in analytics at Squarespace, so you can keep track of the stats that matter with intuitive built-in tools. It makes it super easy for you to review website traffic, learn where to focus your engagement, and track revenue from bookings, invoices, or product sales. Go and try this out for yourself. Go to squarespace.com/upgrade. You can sign up for a free trial there, and you can build your entire website. Then, when you are ready to launch it to the world, use the offer code UPGRADE, and you will save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That is squarespace.com/upgrade, and the offer code UPGRADE to get your 10% off your first purchase and show your support for the show. Our thanks to Squarespace for their support of this show and all of Relay. Jason, I know it's your birthday today.
Mm-hmm.
And you may want to celebrate.
Only fun stuff, right?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. I have a not fun.
Only fun stuff, right?
Yeah, I have a
Sorry,
not fun.
I was doing that Star Wars meme there.
And I will just say, like, I guess to our listeners who, for whatever reason, don't want to hear political style discussions, chapter markers are right there for you.
Chapter markers.
You can jump ahead if you want to. Last week, Apple removed the ICEBlock app from the App Store. ICEBlock is an app that is intended to allow users to report the activity and location of United States Customs and Immigration officers and allowing people to avoid interactions with them. This app is no longer available for download, but still operates on phones it has already been installed on. There is actually an interesting distinction there. Apple can do the latter if they want to. Like, it is possible for Apple to render an app completely useless, but it is now non-downloadable from the App Store. The developer was told by Apple it had been removed for, quote, objectionable content, and the Trump administration has taken credit for it, saying that they demanded Apple remove it. Because I pressed on it, you have to remind me, because I can never remember this. In this scenario, if Apple has removed it, can it be re-downloaded if somebody gets a new phone?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I think if a developer can remove an app for sale and it no longer shows in search, but you can still download it. But I think if Apple was like, hey, we're taking this down, it's like gone. So, yeah, I think that's the difference. Apple has done this kind of thing before. In the past, they removed an app called hkmap.live. This helped people get together for protests in Hong Kong. And Apple did this after they were pressured by the Chinese government to take it out of the store. I will include a link in the show notes to a piece that John Gruber wrote on Daring Fireball, kind of like talking about if Apple has lines that they're not willing to cross, or that they would be willing to cross, like what
Right.
would have to happen. And he kind
Yeah.
of references that Apple could have, if they wanted to, they could have challenged this in court. They've decided not to.
Well, I mean, we can go even before that. This was not a formal request. This was not a legal request. This was the Attorney General saying this is bad, they should remove it, and they removed it without any legal challenge whatsoever.
So let me just press on that a little bit, because obviously you understand your system greater than me. The Attorney General making that request, that wouldn't be kind of like seen to be legal, even though it's the Attorney General? Like it's because no paperwork was filed? Is that what you're saying?
That's it. It's a personal. It's basically the Attorney General saying, "I can't believe they got this out. They should take it down," and they took it down. That's now maybe I don't know. It's possible that there was like a letter that was like, if you don't do this, we're going to prosecute you, or we're going to take this to a judge or whatever. But that's the point. Is like they didn't. This isn't like they defied an order by a judge to do it. They defied. They went along with a quote unquote order that was just a person in the government saying something, and that's they decided that was. Look, so much of what's going on here is about, and by that I mean like in America right now, is about a system that is based on a bunch of norms about what you do, where there are not rules that are hard and fast. They're more like everybody accepts that this is the process you go through. And the current administration is not interested in everybody accepts. They just want to do what they want to do. And so you end up in a situation where all sorts of stuff is happening that is unusual, let's just say. So that's the environment going on here. But you're right. I mean, bottom line is Apple has generally adhered to an internal policy or philosophy, or however you want to say, which is like, if the government, at least to a point, if the government of a territory says this app will harm the security of law enforcement, for example, they just say, "Oh, okay. You're the law enforcement. So if you say that this is dangerous to law enforcement officers, we're just going to let it go." The debate here is about norms, right? The debate here is what this app is meant to do is not tell, and I mean, I guess people can differ about this, but is not to tell vicious criminals where to find cops to attack them. It's about telling people who might get swept up in an immigration raid, who may actually be U.S. citizens, but that hasn't stopped those people from getting thrown in jail for days and things like that, where the immigration people are. It is Apple's policy, at least, pretends to have this assumption that, of course, we all agree that we don't want apps that make the world unsafe for our first responders. Right? It's a good faith, to a certain point at least, argument. But the way that this is being executed, the details of who the Attorney General is and what she does and what's going on with the immigration authorities has, it's a different situation. And I think that what's interesting about Apple's response here is that Apple has chosen to just go along like it goes along with requests in other locations, is saying, look, the local authorities say that this is bad. And it very much is we don't want to get into it, so we're just gonna do this and move along. That's how I really strongly read it, is that the Attorney General of a territory says this is dangerous, and Apple's like, sure, fine, gone. And as you pointed out, this is not a new policy on their part. What's different about it is Apple does not see this as being the same as something like decrypting somebody's data on a phone. This is as we all know, the squishiest of realms. It's App Store policy, where there are some written down policies somewhere, but basically Apple just kind of can do whatever, and they control the platforms. So they've set up themselves as the ultimate. They're the judge and jury. They're the legal system for the App Store. They can just pull things from the App Store, and that's what happened here.
I'm gonna I want to ask you some questions, get some of your thoughts on this a little bit more, because I'm just trying to tease apart some of this, right? So, like, if Apple had decided to take this to court, is there a scenario where they could have won against the government? Do you think?
I honestly don't. Well, here's the problem. I honestly don't know what laws are on the books in terms of enabling. If they say this enables violence against police officers, is there a law? I don't know. I don't know if there is. If there is, or if there's again, because of the world we live in now, or if there's a judge that they can go to who will basically say, yeah, sure, this law fits, then Apple could theoretically, in that case, could have been forced to do this. But it never got to that, and I'm skeptical about that. Like I said, I mean, you mentioned John Gruber mentioning where is the line drawn. I think clearly squishy App Store policy about government saying don't do that is not where Apple draws the line. I would also say that, Apple is wary. Apple has got a lot of people in a lot of places telling Apple what to do involving the App Store, and that Apple is also really wary of keeping its control over the App Store by having policies like this. I think the real broader question is if it was a security or privacy breaking request. I kind of assume that that's where they would draw the line and start to fight it. Maybe not, but
I just don't know. I don't think that that's been tested.
It would be interesting to find out, because that's where I think, surely John Gruber's point and the broader point here, and the John Oliver point made a couple weeks ago on his show, is at what point do you realize that saying yes to the bully never stops the bully? And the only way you can try to stop the bully is to say no. When does Apple say no to things that the administration wants them to do? And we saw with the Disney thing that Disney finally got in a point so uncomfortable that they couldn't avoid it. They had to either bring Jimmy Kimmel back or not. And people were going to be angered by one or the other.
Yep.
And their delay, I mean, we did a whole podcast about this last week on Downstream, but the delay allowed other voices to come out and say, oh, the FCC commissioner shouldn't have said that, and Republican voices saying that. And that gave Disney a little more cover and a little more time to let Jimmy Kimmel come back. But what my point is, they were ultimately forced out of, they couldn't hide anymore. They had to make a decision, and that's the decision they made, and now they have to live it down. And if there are repercussions for them and there's revenge taken against them, they're going to have to fight it, because that's just how it is. Is there a line for Apple? I would like to think that there is, and my guess is that would be the line, would be we want actually to break into customer data, right, or surveil them in a way that Apple is uncomfortable with, that might be the moment where they say no, because it is too much in conflict with everything else that they've stated. But we don't know. But this one, again, it's the squishy App Store. Like this, I feel like this was easy for them, because Apple arbitrarily removes things in general all the time, and certainly at the request of government officials. And I think part of the clash here is that there are a lot of people out there who are like, yeah, but Pam Bondi is not like any other attorney general ever, and she does lots of things for political reasons, and they're not based on the law at all, and you can't listen to her. And I guess what Apple, the people involved in this would probably respond is, I know what you're saying, but she is the Attorney General of the United States of America, and she is making noise about what she says is a threat against law enforcement. And do we want to go down that path of interpreting this differently? And, the expedient path, which I feel like is what they did here, is just say, well, it just goes into the invisible App Store machine, and that app disappears. And Google, by the way, did also remove it from Google Play. The difference there is that you can sideload apps in Android phones, and you can't do that on iPhones.
Yeah, because I guess some of the temperature that I have been able to glean from social media, being that essentially this is Apple kind of, you talk about law enforcement, like legitimizing ICE as a law enforcement agency, which it's questionable, right? Like, I think it is questionable. Like, what they are doing, how they are doing it, and how this is formed is something that is
This is what I mean about norms, though. This is what I mean about norms.
Yeah.
Is ICE isn't a law. ICE is a law enforcement agency. Then we have to debate, but is it being used as a law enforcement agency? Is it being used properly as a law enforcement agency? Is it being used in bad ways? And Apple doesn't want to go there.
Right. There's a way that it needs to be defined a bit more clearly, I think, because it's like the customs agency exists and immigration exists, but what is being referred to as ICE now is like something seems to be completely different to what it was before. Right.
Yeah, but this is the challenge. If you're first off, there's the world in which these rules were made, right? And this comes back to the fact that in the world where these rules were made, police and other law enforcement were being used differently than they're currently being used. But then this is the breaking of norms. But on top of that is Apple not wanting to be bothered, because imagine as a big corporation, you put yourself in the position of saying, well, I know that the Attorney General said this about this part of the government, but we, a corporation in this country, have decided that the Attorney General is unreasonable and that arm of the government is not really law enforcement. It's bad, doing bad things, and so we're going to ignore it. Not saying that they could do that. I'm saying I understand why the people involved, especially in App Store policy, where it's all about like the letter of these laws that are made up by Apple, looks at it and says, I don't want to go down that path of starting to say, but if, we're going to follow government requests unless we decide that they're bad, in which case we won't. Like they don't seem to be the people who do that sort of thing. And that's what's going on here. But I mean, and again, I'm not, just to be clear, because people get really angry about this. Yeah. I don't endorse this approach, but I understand it. Like, I mean, I don't endorse the App Store being the only path onto the devices, which is at the root of why this is a problem, is that if Apple decides no one can run ICEBlock, no one can run ICEBlock because there's no other alternative to get it on your phone. That is not great, because it puts all the power in the hands of Apple. And if Apple decides to act on a request by the Attorney General, then that's it. That's it. And there's no court of appeal for that, really.
Yep. And you are only like 2 jumps from Apple endorses ICE, right? Like, it's not.
Yeah. Well, it's Apple. Apple, by making this move, has legitimized the Attorney General's opinion that knowing where ICE agents are puts them in danger, and that ICE agents are valid first responding law enforcement just doing their jobs. And I'm sure there are people out there listening who are like, well, that's what they are. And other people strongly disagree. Although even then there's nuance, right? You could also argue it's not, I mean, my argument would be, I don't think this is about violence at all. I think this is about protest, and this is about protecting people who, again, I read a story this weekend about a guy who's a U.S. citizen who's been picked up and imprisoned by ICE twice, and he's got a real ID, which is our biometric authenticated ID, and they just said it's fake and took him away for days, twice. Like, is ICEBlock not potentially a way for somebody like that to be like, I'm not going over there. I'm not gonna be over there where those guys are, because they're gonna put me in jail incorrectly again, right? Like, there are lots of, I would argue, valid uses for this, but is that an argument that Apple wants to have? And the answer is certainly not. But the broader question is, where do they draw the line down the road? Are they going to draw the line somewhere else, or are they never going to draw the line? And all we know from this one is this sure isn't it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying. I don't think I am like a doomer in this scenario, but like, I just think the further we continue, I just don't know if they're going to draw any lines. Like, I don't.
That's the question.
I don't know what these lines are going to be. Like, I just can't work it out.
That is why I bring up consumer privacy. Because I think if there is a line that Apple is going to draw, that will be it. I think that is the most likely scenario where Apple says Because, I mean, all the U.S. government has to do is come and say, you know that thing in the UK where they're spying on their own people or have the ability to just get all the iCloud backups and nobody can say anything about it? We want that too. And I'm not saying they'll say no, because I think they're saying yes in the UK, right?
Right. So just to, we have not spoken.
This is the
about
question.
This. So we spoke about the fact that a U.S. official, I don't remember who, was like, "Hey, we told I don't know if it was Pam Bondi, maybe
it was Pam Bondi.
Okay, Pam's all over the news.
She is.
She was like, "Hey, we stopped Apple from doing this. They're not going to do this." About essentially the UK government having a backdoor into worldwide data.
Yeah.
Now the UK
Good news.
government are saying just UK citizens. Then.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to do it. Here's the thing. Isn't this what they do in China?
Yeah.
So Apple doesn't have that line.
No, Apple has a long-standing policy of doing what the government asks them to do, and that for all readings of that statement, because they're in China, and that's what they do in China.
Yeah.
Apple, except for the DMA, they don't do that.
Well, they do it though. They don't like it, but they're doing it.
They don't like it, but they do it. They fight it because there's a mechanism to fight it.
Yeah.
It's a mess. I think this is the question: is where would Apple draw a line, where they would put themselves in an adversarial position with the U.S. government? And you're right. Maybe the answer is nowhere. Maybe we don't know. But again, I come back to this wasn't it. This wasn't it. They just were like, "Yep, okay, Pam, you got it. It's out of the App Store. Done."
Like, I do want to underscore that point that I made, because it was a joke that you made, and I kind of said, because I've been seeing people say it's like, oh, well, they keep drawing lines. They're not drawing lines at the DMA. They are doing. Well, in fact, they don't like it. They're dragging their feet, but they are going along with what the EU wants. Well, by hook or by crook, they're trying to fight it, but they're doing it. They are doing it. Let's
demarcate exactly where Apple has drawn the line historically, because I think this is the answer, which is Apple's solution to the UK was turning off a feature that added more encryption, right?
Yeah.
I think Apple's policy is more refined than one might think, because it's not we're not gonna break encryption. It's we're not gonna build you a backdoor. Right? It's we're not going to build you a backdoor. We're not going to task our people to decrypt something by finding a bug in our software. We're not going to. That was San Bernardino, right? It's like we're not going to build you a backdoor. We're not going to build a system that breaks encryption, because once you break encryption, it's broken for everybody. However, what they haven't said no to is we're going to put it on a server where you have the key, or we're going to turn off the feature that means we can't decrypt that data, so that data is always encrypted on our or always decryptable on our servers, or is always decrypted on our servers. That's the kind of stuff where they're comfortable with it. And you can go a long way down that path before hitting a red line, right? Because, and I think the government knows that. That's the other part of this, is from the government side. Like, they are also figuring out sort of like how compliant Apple will be with them and Google. And I think the San Bernardino case is an interesting example, because that was them saying, build us a backdoor or break into your own systems to take something that was encrypted, that you promised essentially was private, and make it not private. And that is where they've drawn the line, is in that very particular case of, we've got something, we're not going to break our own encryption. We're not going to break up the privacy of our customers. But that's not the same as Myke, they turned off that feature in the UK, right? Yes. And the net effect of that is those backups are no longer unbreakable. So
what they did in China, because I'm Googling around now, because I'm trying to work out.
Chinese law was that you had to put
the
servers on, basically your servers had to be on servers owned by essentially Chinese companies and controlled by the government, which I believe means they've got the keys.
Yes, the backups and the keys are both stored on iCloud servers in China. Now, what does that mean? I don't know enough about encryption to be able to tell you what that means.
It means that in China, the Chinese government can use the keys to decrypt anything that's encrypted on the server.
Right. So Why would they not just do this in other countries? Why wouldn't they do this? Like if they got asked by the UK, if they got asked by the US, why would they not do this?
So this is the loophole is that by turning off that advanced data protection feature, it goes back to the way it was. ADP, the whole point of it was we're going to make it so we can't get at your stuff. And the reaction is, if you're in a country that says, no, we really want access to that, the solution is, okay, we'll turn off ADP in your country. And then what they're doing is reverting to where it was, which is a less secure, less private, more readable, because everything's in that backup. And it means, functionally what it means is, yes, you can make an encrypted backup on your Mac of your iPhone that Apple can't get to, but nobody's going to do it. And so effectively it means everybody's got a backup that the government can get to if they want to.
Yeah.
And that seems to be Apple's policy, right? Because they did it in the UK, which is if you ask, the first thing we do is we'll just turn off ADP. And then, I mean, look, I'm sure that they're fighting
But
it,
ADP and encrypted iCloud backups are different things.
Yeah, but doesn't ADP
encrypts everything because...
Well, there's a lot of end-to-end encrypted stuff that Apple can't get to, right? And that would be a breakage of it. I think ADP's big thing is that there were places where Apple held the key so that they could also decrypt your stuff, and ADP throws that key away.
Correct. And it also means that your messages are encrypted because if you do use messages in the cloud, anybody who uses messages in the cloud, your messages are no longer fully encrypted, even though iMessage is encrypted. It is a very strange, weird loophole, but if you use messages in the cloud, it means that they're available in your iCloud backups, and that part of your iCloud backup Apple has a key for, in case you lose your password. It's a very strange thing about iCloud. It's like, technically, yes, iCloud is end-to-end encrypted, unless you include messages in the cloud, which is a backup of your messages. So it's messy anyway.
Yeah. But
I just at this point, and I'm not I don't know. I am of the mind I will read something that Dan wrote on Six Colors. Do not expect corporations to be your proxy in the fight against authoritarianism. They are, simply put, not designed for it. They are machines designed to return profit to shareholders, and that means they fundamentally rely on a stability that you're not going to get from making waves. You will always be disappointed. So this is like a kind of a sentiment that me and you expressed with the trophy for Donald Trump, right?
Yeah,
that Tim Cook gave. It is, and so like I think you could maybe listen to me and be like, Mike's fallen down into a dark hole, but no, I haven't. I don't expect them to fight for me or for anyone. I just don't. And I feel like I don't feel like where the lines are. I think people that believe that there are lines, I'm just not sure that there are anymore.
The only reason that a giant profit-seeking corporation would act in what you view as the best interests of the people is if they view them as the best interests of them. That is the alignment that you seek, but that is usually not aligned. So and that's why I mentioned the red line about privacy, because Apple has this very... decade plus long process of promoting privacy and iPhone in the same words, right? In the same sentence.
Yep.
If there's a moment where they look at a policy request from the government and see that it's going to eviscerate this thing that they've built up, and they decide that there's no way for them to do it that will not harm them materially in terms of their sales or whatever, then they might make a change. But essentially, it would require that kind of thing. In fact, I could go the other way and say, the threat of tariffs is what brought a bunch of Apple execs who probably didn't want to go to the White House or anywhere else, but they did it because that was the expedient thing to do, because they feared for that aspect of their business. It works. That's just how it works. And Dan's absolutely right. I mean, corporations are entirely made of people, and the people could change their minds. But the truth is, it's a system and a culture and a machine for generating profit and shareholder value. And they, I mean, this is the same thing. It's like, I'm not defending them. I'm saying we shouldn't expect them to take principled stands, because in the end, and And we should be disappointed when they don't, but we shouldn't be surprised, because in the end, money talks. And that, like, they're happy to take stands that look great when they're not threatening their core business. But if they threaten their core business, they will abandon those stances immediately. And we've seen this again and again. Remember, don't be evil? That was a great moment in Google's history, and then it was like getting in the way, and they're like, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to not be evil. I'm not saying we're going to be evil. We are. We're going to just not say don't be evil anymore, because follow the money. Remember OpenAI, which was a nonprofit that was going to do everything for the good of humanity and not become a giant tech company? Guess what? They threw that away and are now a giant tech company who doesn't really care.
Would you like to make videos for no reason?
Yeah.
Yeah,
of real people and all. Like, sure, why not? Like, they decided that. So I guess, it's not a happy way to end, because I think everybody did expect Apple to be at least better than the others on this. But I think the truth is that big tech companies are big tech companies. And even the ones who might be less inclined to do bad things, there are moments where they're going to be what they feel is put in a corner, and they're going to do what they want, what they feel is best for their business. And that's the bottom line. And I'm not happy relaying this, but that is where we are.
Yeah, and again, I'll say what I've said before, because it's my opinion, it's my point of view. I think that there are lots of reasons why, because of the way that the world is, they do have to do these things. Like, they are trying to, people say it's all for the shareholders, and I understand that point of view, but also as well, there are a lot of people that work at Apple, and that sometimes there are decisions that you have to make, because what else are you going to do? I would like them to be more principled. I don't know if I'm going to get it, though, and so it's kind of one of those things where I'm just disappointed that they're not in that spot, but I'm also not really expecting anything else from them, to be honest.
I would love there to be a moment where the Trump administration pushes Apple so far that Apple feels like now is the moment where we have to stand up to the bully, because we cannot go further. I'm not sure that will happen.
Well, we're only a year. We're not even a year in yet.
I'm also not sure if they will force it.
Yeah.
I always think about this when I'm watching sports. I was watching football over the weekend, and you always have that moment in a sporting event, and the baseball playoffs too. And like, if you're rooting for one team, and then there's like a moment of decision, and there's a decision, and it's like, should they go forward on fourth down, or should they intentionally walk this guy, or whatever it is. And if you're pulling for the other team, what's your opinion? Which one of these decisions would make you happier? They should do the other one, right? Because you're pulling for this team. So it's like, should they go for it or should they kick in football? I'm like, oh, well, I think they should totally kick here. Well, that means they should go for it. That means they should go for it, because it means you're afraid that they're going to go for it and make it, and it's going to be bad for your team. And you think that, and I say this because that's an internal calibration that happens. And I'm not sure the Trump administration is capable of this, but there are people there who probably have an idea of what buttons to push more readily at Apple and what buttons to not push more readily at Apple. Now, I don't think the president is one of those people, and I think that the most likely scenario here is he decides to push a button that everybody else is like, oh, they're not going to, how they're going to respond, and then we'll see what they do. You're right. There are more years of this to come. I don't know. I would love to see it though, because here I'm going to end on a slightly more positive note. Going back to the Disney thing, I think almost a year in, it's not even close to a year in, 9 months in, I think there are a lot of companies that were thinking Trump first term playbook and were doing some new president go along to get along.
Yeah.
And I think we are reaching a point now, I would like to think we are reaching a point now where those companies are realizing that go along to get along doesn't really work. It's always going to be, what have you done for me lately?
He has a new book. Like, he has a new playbook.
And in the end, if there's a lot of cowardice out there, but in the end, I wonder if with things like the Kimmel thing and the overreach of the FCC chair, and even people like Ted Cruz saying that guy went too far, if you end up at a point where more companies say no to the bully, say, we're not going to do that, you're going to have to make me. And the more that do that, the more might do that. I mean, I guess it comes down to that saying, which is they're not as powerful as they think they are, and you need to not grant them the power that they think they have, because that's how they get that power, is that it's just granted by people who say, well, what are we going to do to stop it? And the answer is, don't grant them that power. They shrink back when challenged, like a bully. And yeah, they might punch you in the face. They have ways to make it hurt, but like in the end, is there an alternative? It's that classic, like, if I say yes, does it stop? No, it doesn't stop. It keeps happening. Well, then say no. And so my hope is that maybe we'll see more of that. However, the evidence for that is thin on the ground. So we'll see.
This episode is brought to you by Fitbod. If you want to change your personal fitness, getting started can be really difficult. What you need is a plan that will work for you, because that's when you're going to see the change that you want. But how do you find that? Well, that's what Fitbod is all about. It is an easy and affordable way to build a fitness plan that is made for you. Fitbod will adapt with you as you improve, so every workout remains challenging, pushing you to make the progress that you want. Because Fitbod knows that you'll see the best results when something is tailored to your body, experience, environment, and goals, and tracks your muscle recovery. This means that you'll avoid burnout and keep up your momentum, and your routine will be well balanced and mixed up. You're not going to get bored. The app will mix up your workouts with new exercises, rep schemes, and supersets, but also this means that your body will be working together with itself. All of your muscles will be working the way that they should be. You're not going to be underworking or overworking. Everything is kept in balance, because if you overwork muscles or underwork muscles, your results can be negatively impacted. So Fitbod will build your best possible workout. They have analyzed billions of data points. They have been fine-tuned by personal trainers, certified personal trainers, to make sure you're getting the best. You're also going to be sure that these new movements, you'll be able to learn them the right way, because they have more than 1,000 demonstrations videos. The app is really easy to use. You can stay informed with their tracking charts. They have weekly reports and sharing cards. This means you can keep track of your personal bests and achievements and share them with your friends and family too. And Fitbod will integrate with your Apple Watch, your Wear OS smartwatch, and other apps you may be using like Strava, Fitbit, and Apple Health to help give that whole picture of your health and fitness. Personalized training of this quality can be expensive, but Fitbod is just $15.99 a month or $95.99 a year, but you can get 25% off your membership by signing up today at fitbod.me/upgrade. So, go now and get your customized fitness plan at fitbod.me/upgrade. That is fitbod.me/upgrade for 25% off your membership. And thanks to Fitbod for their continued support of this show and Relay. I want to talk about what is going on with the Apple Vision Pro. We will turn to friend of the show, the sheriff, Mark Gurman, who reports at Bloomberg that Apple has paused their plans to create a cheaper and lighter version of the Vision Pro. This product was being developed for a potential 2027 release. Mark says that this project replaced the idea of doing a stripped-down kind of Vision Air model. So I want to catch everybody up here, because I had to spend a little bit of time over the last couple of days reminding myself of the various twists and turns of the Vision Pro's development. So basically, we had the Vision Pro, and then people were like, surely there'll be a lighter one. It will be cheaper. So Apple started working on that, and then we're like, no, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do instead is make a cheaper, lighter version of the Vision Pro, new materials, kind of refreshed design. Both of these have now been shelved. So Vision Pro is not canceled. In fact, Mark in his newsletter this weekend kind of iterated that, because some people have taken this report from him to be like, Apple has abandoned the Vision Pro. That is not the case. There is currently just no active work on a significant revision. All that there is in the works right now is a, quote, modest refresh of the current Vision Pro design with a faster chip that is expected for as early as the end of this year.
Yeah, that's the M5 Vision Pro, probably.
Yeah, but that will essentially be what we have right now in the hardware, and there will be an M5, and there is currently no development of anything more radical than that. So
no ongoing development, because the team that was working on something to come out in a couple of years has been taken off of that to work on a different project.
Yes, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
Mac Rumors is reporting as well that they have found referenced in code to a, quote, dual knit band for the Vision Pro. Quote, a text description of the dual knit band suggests that there will be an upper band that spans the top of the head and another band that fits behind the head. So this is something we had heard about before.
We got the demos in something like this, and then they didn't ship it.
The connected tipster, I'll refer to him, who goes by the name Not Mark Gurman, who has had a pretty good track record, wrote in about this a little while ago and said, it is not that exact one, but it is similar in kind of idea. Right?
Of course.
Because I kept saying it was the exact one, and they wanted to correct me on that.
Yeah, I've been using the Belkin dual band, and it's great. I find it funny, you know, a lot of the conversation about the Vision Pro is about the comfort, and I'll grant you, after a while it feels heavier, and when you take it off, it feels like your face has been mashed against something, because it has. I have so few problems with it using the Belkin band, which is a dual adjustable band that fits over the top of your head and the back of your head, and I use that all the time now, and it's great. So if they're going to do something, and that clearly designed by Apple, right? So if they're going to do something kind of like that for the new Vision Pro, that's a positive, I think.
I agree.
But yeah, so okay, we're going to talk about this in a minute. I want to, before we talk about this product and how I feel about this decision on their part, I want to say, I wrote, actually last week, I wrote my Vision OS 26 review.
Mm-hmm.
The point of Vision OS, which it actually is really good. Vision OS is really good. The issue is not the operating system. They've made an OS that's kind of iPad-like with even more Mac flavor than the iPad, although now with iPad OS 26, they're more similar. It's got a lot of great stuff in it. Some of the features that started out bad have improved so much. The trajectory, they're doing what they should with Vision OS, which is a product for the future, not the present, is to push it forward. Keep pushing it forward. When it stops moving forward, then they're in trouble. Because the whole idea here is to have a vision-oriented, gesture-oriented operating system ready for the time when the hardware is light enough that people are wearing these more, whether it's for VR or AR. That's the idea here, is that they'll have a whole stack that will be ready for that moment. So if we take Vision Pro to be essentially, test hardware that fakes, it's not AR. It's an AR simulator, right? It's an AR simulator. They've got all those images there because they know that AR is where they want to go with this. So they've got all these cameras on it because they want to simulate AR, but they can't right now. The hardware just isn't there to do what they want to do. So they're really like, in 10 years, what is this going to look like in glasses? And that's what the Vision Pro is. It's a simulator of that.
I think it's both. Because even in a world of AR, there's still things in AR, with an AR product, you cannot do that you can do with a VR product.
Sure, but when I say it's an AR simulator, I mean, it's also a VR device. It is a VR device. It is that. But it's that now. It's heavy, but it's already that. But the AR part of it is, Apple is not thinking that big heavy thing on your face is the future. They're thinking that it's all going to be lighter. So my point is they're striving forward, and I think that's a good sign. I think the hardware in this path is years down the road before it will be something that would be broadly appealing. I would love to see it get better and lighter and cheaper in the next few years, but it does feel like that's way out. And I'm less concerned about hardware development right now. I think in the long run, and we're going to get to this in a second, I think in the long run, Apple does need to be working hard on hardware development to get to the end point. Whatever direction they go, they need to get to the end point of having something relatively light that you can wear on your face that is augmented reality, and that's where they need to be going. And those hardware people are still doing that. They're doing it on a different product, and we'll talk about it in a second. On the OS side, I do think they need to keep striving forward, because I think in the end, what we see in Vision Pro today is not that far off from what the ideal would be if that magic set of AR glasses appeared today. They could run Vision OS on it, and it would be pretty great. But it's a decade away, right? So as long as I just want Vision OS to keep progressing, because I think it's actually really good. Every other Apple product, we could argue the hardware is ahead of the operating system. Vision Pro, the OS is so far ahead of the hardware. It's so far ahead of the hardware.
This is the problem. So, like,
it's good.
David in the Discord is kind of like saying, like, oh, they will drop the VR stuff. No, but I think that is a fundamental misunderstanding of what a Vision OS is as a product. Because Vision OS would not, today, Vision OS, what are we, 26, would not be able to run on hardware for like 10 years. Right? Like the complexity of that system, the amount of power that it needs, and all of the sensors to work on AR glasses is like 10 years away. So you can't say that, like, oh, like they'll get rid of the VR part whenever. No, because Vision OS will always be significantly ahead of what an AR product could do, just because of the form factor.
Because it's approaching it from the other direction. Right?
Yeah,
You'll always be able to do more with something more.
Either Apple stops work on Vision OS and they put it on ice for a significant portion of time, or they end up with both products, which is where I think they're going. Where Vision OS will have a version that runs on the Vision Pro, and then also on the, I guess the Vision probably now could just be AR glasses, right? Like, and that's that, or Vision Air would be AR glasses.
And without getting ahead of ourselves here, because we're about to get into it, I would say what you're talking about is details. Like, we don't know where the convergence happens or what. I think I would say that Apple's ideal is that there are glasses that you can wear, that you can use in AR mode or VR mode, and it does everything you want. I think what you're saying is, practically speaking, converging those two products will be very hard, like converging a laptop with a desktop. Not that it can't happen, but I think it would be very hard.
You can't do VR.
Well, they were always
on a pair of eyeglasses.
I mean, maybe. I'm just going to say I'm open to it, but I would also say whatever they learn about, this is the AR part of Vision Pro. It's their playground for what AR behavior should be in an operating system.
Yeah,
and I have to believe that in the long run, the investment they make in Vision OS is going to mean that the software they run on AR glasses they make down the road is going to be better, because they made this investment and they've learned a lot of lessons about how it works. Yes. We will see, because I think in the short run, they're not going to use anything like Vision OS. I think they're going to be doing things like projecting widgets onto some glasses from your phone. But in the long run, they need to be smarter than that.
Yeah. Like, Vision OS has in it a selection of elements that would be good in an AR product. But anybody that has used Vision OS would know that interface, always in your Vision, is way too much. It's an entire operating system.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine running Mac OS on your Apple Watch. That's essentially what we're talking about here.
Right. I'd say the long-term ideal is that when you're walking around, you are in, a focus mode essentially, and you're just seeing the world. But then you could also sit down with that same device and use it as your computer. But again, that may not be possible, or it may not be possible for a long time.
My kind of concern about this type of product is I absolutely do not want a Vision Pro-like experience available to me everywhere, always, 24/7.
Oh, I agree.
It's too much. It's way, way, way too much.
I agree.
Like, I don't want notifications in my eyeglasses.
Yeah, all right. I think you're getting hung up on it a little bit, because in the end, there will be different, if they can, even if it's not full VR, there are going to be different levels of presentation in an AR product, and I would imagine you will be able to set what those levels are, like we can now with things like focus modes and preferences, right? To like, what do you want to see and what do you not want to see? Because like Apple Watch is a great example. Some people want all their notifications on their Apple Watch and other people don't.
Yeah.
And there's a setting for that. Yep. Okay, let's talk about this. What those hardware developers are actually working on now.
Yeah, so Apple are moving the team that was working on the Vision Pro over to a smart glasses project, as this has become a bigger priority for Apple, because they want to be able to push forward more quickly on a project like that. So as a reminder, Apple is working on 2 products in the smart glass world. A version that is focused around audio, cameras, and Siri, set for 2027. Mark Gurman also says there will be some kind of health focus there.
Okay. That's AirPods, basically.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I don't know, what health sensors could you work from, like being on my nose and temples? I mean, I have no idea, right? But I also wouldn't have imagined you could take my heart rate from my ears, but you can apparently. It's then also a pair of glasses that includes a display of some kind, targeting for 2028. However, it seems Apple is trying to beat their initial timeframes now and are doing this with a shift of resources.
Remember when we talked about this like more than a year ago? Because I know I said I feel like it was spring of last year. I said, or maybe it was just this year. I basically said at one point, if I am a manager at Apple, I'm going to throw as many people as I can to ship, Meta Ray-Ban style AirPod glasses ASAP, because it was very clear, and then we, maybe they were doing that then, but we had to wait till now for a lot of this from Mark Gurman.
No, it was probably a year ago, because I mean the Meta Orion was a year ago.
Right. So they did investigate this, and I think that their investigations have led to the go-ahead to pull people off of that Vision Pro team and build this product too, which, I think so. I think the Vision Pro is a cool product, although I think nobody should buy it because it's too expensive and it's too early. I think Vision OS is actually a good operating system that Apple's done some really great work with.
Yep.
And so I have this feeling like people expect me to say, oh no, I'm worried about the Vision Pro. This is absolutely the right thing for them to do, because first off, Meta is doing this. And second, I think you do need to approach this from bottom up and top down. I think that if all you ever do is say we're going to make a big Vision Pro smaller and smaller and lighter, you are missing out on all. It's like saying I'm not going to make the original Mac. I'm just going to keep it in the lab and it'll come out in 5 years. It's like the products coming from the bottom up are happening now that get people used to the idea of having connected devices that are glasses. You should be there, because that is, even if you and I disagree a little bit on whether they meet in the middle or not, they get close to each other in the middle, because the glasses become more functional and the VR stuff becomes lighter and lighter and lighter. Mm-hmm. Those two things have to happen. And Apple has been approaching this only from top down. And they need to go bottom up. They absolutely 100% need to. They are behind Meta here. And just as I argue you got to ship Vision Pro because you got to learn how that product works and progress it toward where you want to go, shipping glasses is important because it makes you go through the crucible of miniaturizing and of what do you need to learn to get things on those glasses and to get it to talk to your iPhone and to get the battery life to be decent and to deal with sensors that can fit on those things and input via something like an Apple Watch, because Meta's got that wristband that they're doing. Like all of that, those are all lessons that are required to get to your destination. And I don't think that Vision Pro is the platform to learn some of those lessons. So I think this is actually kind of, I mean, it's overdue news for Apple that they should be working on this and retasking Vision Pro people. I don't love it. I mean, I kind of wish they were doing both full speed. But in this instance, if you could only pick one, going bottom up and building first those glasses and then the other, first the ones that are basically AirPods and then one that's more like what Meta has shown, which is kind of like a basic display, which, like I said earlier, I feel like fits into, again, a lot of tech that Apple already has. It's probably things like widgets. It's probably similar to that home device that they haven't shipped yet because their Siri AI stuff is a disaster. But if they can fix that part of it, I feel like they've got a lot of the hardware pieces to make this happen, and they need to, because this is another area for them to learn and to get the public ready to accept. This is a beachhead, right, to get to accept smart glasses, because it's going to take people. I think it's going to be a harder fight than the watch because the glasses are so personal. I think it's going to be hard, so I think they need to start working on it, and they let Meta get ahead of them.
Meta are way ahead too, which is that's the embarrassing part, right? Like, let's just say that they got to this timeline that Mark's suggesting, 2027 for a product Meta shipped like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think
not great.
That's why I said they had to pull it forward. The thing that kills me here, Myke, is that they have all the pieces.
Yeah.
They have all this tech. They've had all this tech. They decided that this was not a product that was worth building and it was beneath them or something.
Yep.
Or that it was a novelty. This is one of those things. They spent all that money on the car, and yet they poo-pooed AI chatbots, and they poo-pooed these wearable glasses. They're like, no, we'll come from the top down. And like they made a mistake, but then you need to react. And maybe they are finally reacting here. But you're right, it feels really late. And the frustration is, other than an intelligent Siri, which hasn't stopped them from shipping AirPods, they have, on the hardware side, I have 100% confidence that Apple can make these products because most of these features already exist in Apple products. But they just chose not to try for a long time, and so they're behind. I think they can catch up, but like they gotta scramble, which is probably why they're pulling people off of other projects to do it, because they just they just let it sit there.
It is supremely strange to think that like they wanted to make AR glasses, so they started with a VR headset and didn't do anything else.
Well, I think the story has been partially told, but the idea there is that people, including Johnny Ive, very strongly felt like that AR was the future. And I think Tim Cook still has internalized a lot of that. But they obviously went through a bunch of tests and decided that and here's my theory, based on some of this stuff that has been reported, is they decided that they couldn't do it then to do pure AR. They looked at what they could do with AR, and it was Meta Ray-Bans or something like that. It was nothing. They had this vision of the future that was going to be amazing. And at some point, they won the argument of, well, let's just build a big, heavy thing so that we have a platform for our operating system, and we'll just kind of keep trying to make it lighter. And again, I don't think that's a mistake. I think the mistake is saying, why don't we also use all of the skill we have in building AirPods and Apple Watch and build an accessory from the bottom up? I do wonder if the existence of AirPods led them astray, where they thought AirPods are really successful. Doesn't this just repeat AirPods? We've heard Mark Gurman's reports that they've been trying to put cameras on AirPods, which sounds to me very much like, what if they're not glasses? What if they're AirPods? And that put them, I think it's a confluence of those things that put them behind.
Yeah.
And by the way, I am not a believer. I know we've talked about it before, but I'm not a believer in cameras on AirPods, because I don't believe that they can see what you need them to see, and I don't believe that they don't have huge mismatches with people's like ears and hair in a way that you can. I mean, what are they going to do? Stick out like antenna out of your ear? Like it's just, nobody would wear that, and I think close into the ears, it's not going to work. I prepare to be proven wrong, but I think like glasses is the platform that you have to use here.
Yeah, if they are cameras to take pictures, right? Because there have been varying reports about what these cameras are for, right? Whether it's like infrared gestures or they're actual cameras. If it's cameras to take pictures, putting them on glasses is a vastly superior product than cameras.
I would argue
on
if it's cameras to augment your view, if it's cameras to have your AI model look out and see what's going on around you, having them facing forward where your eyes are is probably
always
important.
Glasses,
And people wear hair over their ears, and if your hair's over your ears, you can't. It's just not. It might be a solution. Like I could see cameras on AirPods helping you with like precision location and things like that, but like it is not the solution.
No,
the only solution offered by Apple.
There is nothing that cameras on AirPods could do that it wouldn't be better to put if you just put them on glasses. Like. It would always be better to put them
other
on
than
glasses.
see behind you, I guess. But even then, you could really, in the long run, you put cameras on the end of the.
Yeah, I don't know why you would need that, but if you needed that, yes, you could also
see
put
behind
them on
you in case
too.
your enemies are coming up behind you. I don't know.
You know what? I guess it's like when I was a kid and you'd have those like spy glasses that just have mirrors in them. It's those. Apple wants to build spy.
Yeah, head on a swivel. Good idea.
Mark Gurman talks about how the upgraded Siri will also be a crucial part of this product, and my word, if this ends up being blocked because that Siri doesn't ship like the HomePod of a screen, Like, I mean, I get it that, like, if you're doing this, it would be important, but please don't let it be, like, integral to the product. Because, Jason, I just don't think they're shipping it. Like, I don't think
it has to be. I mean, they have to get this right because everything they're lining up requires it. So they have to get it right.
Here's what I say is, like, yes, it should be crucial if you've shipped it. Right? Like, don't build this product relying on that to exist on any particular time frame.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think that this is all about what their vision for the product is. AirPods ship now. AirPods Pro 3 didn't wait because the new Siri wasn't out. They shipped and they used the old Siri. And then when the new Siri comes, they'll use the new Siri. That's what's going to happen with this stuff. It's the same thing. They'll use whatever Siri is there, but their vision for it is like that. Well, by 2027, we certainly will have a good Siri. They better. I mean, that's a larger issue. They sure better.
I could imagine the display version of this product needing app intents, right? That, like, maybe that is what would power the UI that would exist in that screen, right? Of like a really light UI kind of thing that is app intent powered. I could see that, but yeah, either way, like, don't be like, we'll ship it after the upgrade to Siri. Like, because history has proven that is not a project that appears to be going super swimmingly.
Well, let me tell you, if they can't make that work, they're in deep trouble.
Oh, I know. I agree with you. They have to make it work, but I just think tying anything more to the success of that product is probably a bad idea.
I don't know. I mean, I agree in the sense that, like I said, AirPods ship with bad Siri, and so you just use it, and it's going to be what it's going to be regardless. But also, like, they gotta ship it, and that's got to be, like, they gotta ship it. They gotta ship it. So I think if you're building this product, you really need to be focused on just tying in with whatever Siri is provided to you on the phone that you're paired with.
What a wild time we're in. Like, it is truly bananas to me that we're in a world where there is a product category of hardware that Meta is leading.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to give my very small anti-Meta case here.
Please do.
Which is, first off, I don't like them. I don't like them as a company.
Case closed.
They're bad. Your Honor, I rest my case. They suck. I rest my case.
I don't like it. Boo you.
Boo. I don't like them. I don't like them. There are some reasons why I don't like them.
Yeah.
And I have a Meta Quest. It's fine. It's not as good as the Vision Pro, but it also costs a fraction of it. And it has controllers. Hey, remember those Sony controllers that are coming to the Vision Pro? I haven't seen those. Meta. Okay, this is my little mini version of my thing about Meta, which is corporate culture and identity are extremely hard to change. And while Meta has put a lot of effort into its hardware, including the Ray-Bans, and who knows, maybe they will be the ones to change. But I would say Meta is what it is, which is a company that makes money on ads and by knowing who you are. And not only does that, I think, make, over the long run, make a bunch of people more reluctant about their relationship with Meta. But I think at a purely cultural level, Meta is not a product company. Or if they are, the product is the ads that are served personalized to people. And this is, this is not a hot take where I'm like, this is why Meta is doomed to fail with this stuff, because they're ahead. They are totally ahead. What I will say is, I've seen Meta get derailed before. Mark Zuckerberg is great at derailing.
Yep.
He has a short attention span.
And the power to do whatever he wants.
And he can do whatever he wants. Yeah. And that company's culture is not about making great products. It's about selling ads to you as personalized as possible. And you see it again and again in Facebook, in Instagram. It's not their core. And can they change? Maybe. But what I would say is the reason, even though Apple is behind, that I don't believe that like Meta has an irretrievable lead here. Part of that is that Apple has most of the tech that's in those products. They just have chosen not to make them, and I think that was a mistake. It's that this is what Apple's good at, and it's not what Meta's good at. And maybe Meta will get better at it, but again, I'm saying having a hardware project inside Meta is nice, and they've done a good job, but it's not at its core what Meta is. And so I'm going to remain skeptical that Meta suddenly has become an Apple-level product company in the glasses space, because I don't believe it. And if they want to prove me wrong, so great.
I don't think you're saying I'm saying that, but I'm just saying, just because I made a point that Jason, I am not saying that they're Apple level.
No, this is a
they
different.
They released a product.
They're ahead.
And have iterated on it, and
they're ahead.
Very ahead.
They're ahead. I'm not debating you. I'm just saying I'm not a believer in Meta as a company, because I just don't think this is who they are. And I know from personal experience that it's so hard to change the culture of a company from what it believes itself to be. And I think that Google has struggled with it, and I think Meta struggles with it. I think Apple, in many ways, the reason Apple's behind here is because Apple has its own separate issues, because the products that Meta is shipping are products Apple could have shipped several years ago. They chose not to, and we say that's a mistake. Can they catch up? I think they can. The real thing holding Apple back is that I think they don't get AI culturally. But anyway, so that's my I don't like Meta personally, and that probably colors my judgment a little bit. I cannot envision, whenever I hear them extolling the virtues of these glasses, which look really interesting, and they're like, connect them to our array of services like WhatsApp and Instagram, and I'm like, right, Meta. Like, I don't like them. I think they're gross. I think their products are bad. Even their good products get worse all the time because they can't help themselves. And I guess that's what I'm saying about this is I think this product that they've got is really interesting, but I think that there is plenty of room for other companies that are good at hardware. Samsung is good at hardware too, culturally. Their culture is super weird, but they're really good at hardware. I think there's room to be skeptical of Meta, because even though they got a head start and they are a tech giant, I don't think this is what they're good at. So other companies that are good at this should be able to catch them and surpass them. We'll see.
We'll see. This episode is brought to you by Delete Me. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Too common, if you ask me. Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. They know your privacy is worth protecting. You sign up and you provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. I love that it is that part, because I am a public person. I don't want everything, every trace of me deleted from the internet. That would be bad for my business. But I want pieces of information, like certain email addresses I want to be removed. And I can tell Delete Me just what I want to be removed, for example, and it's fantastic. You also get regular privacy reports showing what information they found, where they found it, and what they removed. I really like this because I get to feel like I'm a part of the process. I know what Delete Me is doing. They're keeping me informed. They're telling me what's gone. They're telling me the progress that they're in with certain data brokers. And then I get the peace of mind of seeing what they've removed and knowing that they're going to keep an eye on it. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now with a special offer for listeners of this show. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/upgrade20 and use the promo code upgrade20 at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/upgrade20 and enter the code upgrade20 at checkout. That is joindeleteme.com/upgrade20 with the code upgrade20. Our thanks to Delete Me for their support of this show and Relay. It is time for some Ask Upgrade questions. Anne wrote in and says, I'm a little behind on my podcasts and have just listened to last week's episode of Connected. Please can I recommend that Jason finds a way for Myke to attend Laser Sounds University in the way that Jason had to attend Coin Flip University. Myke, I love everything you do, but they were terrible lasers, although not as bad as Jason's original coin flipping.
Okay.
I'm bad at laser sounds.
So what sound does a train make?
Choo-choo.
Okay. Choo-choo. You got it. All right.
Yeah.
Now take the vocalization out of it so you're just whispering choo-choo.
Choo-choo.
Now do that a bunch of times. Choo-choo-choo-choo.
Choo-choo-choo-choo-choo.
No, you're vocalizing it. Don't vocalize it.
This is the problem.
Choo-choo-choo.
Jason, I don't want to be as good as you are at lasers. This is your thing,
That's good because you're not.
Exactly. No one.
You're like meta with hardware.
Yep, that's me. You are. Yes, I am too.
I'm the apple of lasers. Just say it. I'm the apple of lasers.
And I am the meta of lasers. They are my lasers. See, supervillain lasers. That's what I have. You know.
No, you've got a sad train.
That is the sound that supervillains lasers makes.
Choo
choo choo choo choo choo choo choo choo. Let's carry on. Brent writes in and says, I've been to Disney World. These are fun questions this week. I've been to for birthday style. There'll be some less fun stuff maybe. Who knows?
That's great.
Brent says, I've been to Disney World, including Galaxy's Edge before, but I'm going to be at Disneyland for the first time in November. I'm really excited to walk around the Avengers campus. Is there anything specifically there or at Disneyland in general that I should be looking forward to do?
You know, I read these business articles about Disney and about how their parks chief is like the odds-on favorite to be the next CEO. And I'll just tell you, Avengers Campus is a beautiful space, and it feels like there's a big sign up that says more stuff coming later. Yeah. It is a beautiful space, and then you walk through it and you're like, is that it? It's like there's a dead end. It's like, nope, no more Avengers stuff here. Forget about it. And it's like it's just they need. I don't know what they're working on.
They are working on a big Iron Man ride, though.
I think that's the thing. So I would say right now, don't get too excited to walk around Avengers Campus. It's not. It's gonna be probably good. Right now, I would say I had a good time there. It's fun. Like it is from a theme park perspective. The idea that you're walking around inside a world, like you go to Star Wars and you're like in Star Wars. Even if you're not on the rides, you're in Star Wars. It's great. Avengers Campus is like that, but there are no rides. I mean, there is like there's the Spider-Man thing, which Mike's got notes here that say don't get your hopes up. The Spider-Man ride is fun. It's like the Buzz Lightyear kind of ride. It's lightly interactive. When I went, it was the longest line we went in, and boy, it wasn't worth it.
It's not worth the line.
But it's
a fun ride, but
it's a fun ride. And the reason the line is long is because there's nothing else. Anyway, so I would say your number one bullet is actually my recommendation too. The best time I had in Avengers Campus is there's the Pym test kitchen where I had a beer out of a beaker and a giant pretzel, and they have that whole thing where it's like, what is it? It's like giant pretzels and teeny tiny hot dogs or whatever it is. Yeah. Everything's the wrong size because it's Ant-Man, so that's the joke. That was our lunch, maybe it was a mid-afternoon snack. But you got to sit down, take a load off because you've been walking all day. And I got a beer, and I got which they serve at California Adventure, which is great, and a giant pretzel, and we had a great time. That was my favorite part. I still have the beaker, the souvenir beaker from Pym's Test Kitchen, and there'll be characters running around, and there's like a Iron Man like patrolling up on a walkway above there. That's kind of cool. It's like a cool vibe, but anyway, don't get too excited about Avengers Campus. There's other good stuff there. I thought that I think the Radiator Springs ride, the whole Cars Land is actually pretty great. And I don't love cars, but I think it looks great.
Cars Land is awesome, especially when like the 60%, 70% life-size Lightning McQueen starts driving around in the streets. It's like, whoa, what's happening? Yeah. It's cool. It looks
really good. The streets look really good. And my pro tip for you is even if you're with other people, do the singles line for the Radiator Springs, because it's a big car. It doesn't really matter whether you're with your people. You'll be with your people in the line and then after. It doesn't matter if you're with them during, and the singles line moves vastly faster than the line full of families, and they have to fill in.
Inefficient ride, that one.
Yeah,
it takes a
yeah.
really,
So
really long
so
time.
just go down the singles line, and it's better down there.
Yep. All right, so I've been to Disneyland a bunch.
Yeah, more than me.
So I have a lot of things. What I'll say about Avengers Campus, if you are a big Marvel fan like I am, just walking in and hearing the music will make you emotional. It did me. It was
great.
overwhelming
It's just when I left, I was like, there was a is that all there is feeling, but
there
it's great.
A lot there,
it's something to build on, right? It's gonna be great.
They are. Yeah,
but it's not there yet.
In both, and what they're starting to do with Avengers Campus, what they have actually done with the Avengers Campuses is what they should have done with the Galaxy's Edges, is that in different locations they are getting different rides.
Oh, that's fun.
Because one of the things that Disney thought we'll just make Galaxy's Edge the same everywhere. But then for Disney, that's a problem because it means that people don't feel like they need to go to the other parks.
Right.
So like Paris has a different ride. Like the Paris Avengers Campus has it's called Avengers Flight Force, which is a ride I did twice. The first time I loved it. The second time it gave me a headache. It is very, very fast and quite an aggressive ride. But I would do it again, but I definitely would not do it twice. What I'll say, like the Avengers Campus, it has like the Spider-Man thing is also the Spider-Man above the Spider-Man ride is really cool. Like the character, because it like. Just wait for Spider-Man.
Oh man, they have an animatronic Spider-Man who leaps around. It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
Incredible.
That's really great.
It's as a kid who grew up loving Spider-Man,
it's so cool.
There's Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man. There's Spider-Man. Yeah. It's amazing. And I know what's going on there, and it's amazing.
It's so cool. The Pym's Test Kitchen is my favorite restaurant. It's because the food is great, and you can just go at any time.
And it's hilarious.
Reservation. And it's really good food, and you can get drinks there too if you want to.
Yeah.
One of my favorite rides is it feels like it's kind of co-opted a little bit by Avengers Campus, which is Guardians Mission Breakout, which was like it's Tower of Terror, but Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. Fantastic, such good fun. Yeah, the Spider-Man ride, if the line is short, do it. If it's not, I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
And I would give just a couple of other recommendations for Disneyland in general. The Incredicoaster is my favorite ride. It is an absolutely fantastically fast, fun roller coaster. And it's also in California Adventure. And then if you're into Disneyland proper, Indiana Jones is great. Space Mountain is great. And I love Small World.
Space Mountain is really good. Big Thunder is actually my favorite roller coaster there, but Space Mountain is really good.
Yeah.
Roller coaster in the dark is such a great idea. Yeah. And the Star Wars stuff is great, but you've done that. So you can.
And it's exactly the same.
It is great though. It is. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a great time.
They need to do more of that, but it's great.
Eric writes in and says, what lesson, if any, do you think Apple will learn with the first iPhone Pro with a genuinely bold color sells really well?
If the orange sells well, they will do a good color every year along with boring colors. That's the lesson. I don't think it'll be like, oh, we should do lots of colors and give people lots of choices. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're just going to be like, oh, great, we'll do a bright blue next year. We'll do a bright aqua next year, or whatever, and they'll just do one.
But even if that's all I get, like, I'm going to be really sad to lose the orange next year. Like, that will make me really sad. So Apple, if you want to just keep doing orange.
Cosmic Orange.
Orange Club. I won't mind. Martin says, in the September Apple event, Apple used the terms Apple Intelligence and machine learning. Do you think they see them as different things? And if so, what do you think the difference is?
I think they rolled all their machine learning into Apple Intelligence and AI last year because they felt they were behind and they needed to show their work. And now Apple Intelligence is a pain point for them, and so they kind of don't want to over talk about it, and they're going back to machine learning because it's a different term and they think it's a thing that they're good at. I think right now Apple Intelligence is a very specific set of features that are generative for the most part that they're using, and they have walled those off, and they're no longer doing I'll tell you, I bet that cleanup feature in Photos was forced into the Apple Intelligence bucket because they wanted to spiff up what they were announcing for Apple Intelligence. And I bet if that happened again now, they would have just called that a machine learning feature instead of putting it in the Apple Intelligence bucket. Because now, they were all in on Apple Intelligence and trying to tell you that Apple gets AI. And so everything went in that bucket. And now it's become a little bit of they're ashamed of it a little bit, and they're like not talking about it as much with other features that are still machine learning, right? Machine learning is AI, like they're the same thing, but I think Apple Intelligence is a particular set of features that are based on their foundation models.
If you would like to send in a question for us to answer on a future episode of the show, please go to upgradefeedback.com. I would like to thank our members who support us of Upgrade Plus. You can go to getupgradeplus.com and you can sign up for longer, ad-free versions of the show each and every week. You can also find us on YouTube. Just search for the Upgrade Podcast and you can watch a video version of the show every week. I would like to thank our sponsors, that is Delete Me, Fitbod, and Squarespace, for their support of this show. But most of all, I would like to thank you for listening. We'll be back next time. Until then, say goodbye, Jason Snell.
Goodbye, Myke Hurley.